If you're new to barbecue, today we're going to show you how to set up your Kamado Joe or your ceramic grill for low and slow barbecue. Stick around and we'll get right into all the details. The first tip is setting up your charcoal properly for low and slow smoking. So I'm going to bring you in on how to set up your charcoal grill for low and slow. But the first thing is you want to make sure you're using really high quality lump charcoal, and you want to use large chunks to set up your charcoal basket. So I'm going to bring you in and we'll talk about it further. Well, another thing is it's always good to have a charcoal basket in here, and this is some charcoal left over from my last cook, which is totally fine to reuse. But when I'm setting up for low and slow, I like to find the large pieces here, and we're going to begin to place them right in. And here, this was a really nice piece. And then we'll just kind of move these pieces around. And this is kind of what I like to do as far as charcoal placement for low and slow. And another thing is we're going to talk about wood placement here in a moment, and I like to vary that, but I wanted to show you first, use large chunks because it's going to burn longer versus faster, and it's okay to reuse small chunks from a previous cook. The second tip is all about wood chunks versus wood chips, and I like to use this brand of wood chunks. It's fantastic. Post oak and pecan is something I typically use on an ongoing basis, but I suggest using wood chunks because they smolder over time longer versus wood chips, and I do not recommend soaking your wood chips. I think it gives it that acidic taste and it doesn't last long on a ceramic. Now, there's other ways and methods you could utilize wood chips throughout your cook, but the main principle is whenever you place your wood chunks, I like to place them in the charcoal basket underneath the charcoal, show you what that looks like, and that allows it to smolder over time to enhance that wood flavor that you're looking for on your protein over a long, low and slow cook. My third tip for setting up for low and slow barbecue is indirect grilling, or setting up for indirect grilling. If you have a Kamado Joe, then that gives you two options. It's your heat deflectors and your slow roller. Show you a few ways how you could set it up using heat deflectors. One thing I like to do is use my accessory rack like this, put it on the second tier, and get that going right now. And then I like to, as I light my charcoal, I like the heat deflectors to come up to temperature with the charcoal and the dome. So you can literally just place your heat deflectors in and you've got plenty airflow. I'll bring you in to show you what this looks like. You have plenty of airflow just like this. After you have lit your charcoal, you can place your heat deflectors right on here. And then from here, we'll talk about other steps. Or you can directly take off the accessory rack and lower these heat deflectors on the very, very bottom, whatever your personal preference might be. Like I mentioned earlier, you can take your heat deflectors and place them directly on the bottom part of the divide and conquer system like this. Once that you've got a fire lit, that's also another placement that you can do. Now I'm going to show you how to set it up for low and slow with the slow roller. Well, let's set up with the slow roller. The first thing you're going to have to do is take out your divide and conquer system, and you lay down your actual slow roller base, and then the middle part of the slow roller, and then you put your base. And there's 4 different little curvatures or indentions that this sits in. And then from here, this is where you would place, once your charcoal's lit, you put the base on and you are set for indirect grilling with the slow roller, which helps produce kind of 20 times the smoke circulation to kind of better enhance your protein flavors. So this is how you set up for indirect grilling on the Kamado Joe with your heat deflectors or your slow roller. And then from here, we'll talk about another step with our drip pans or foil, and then put on our grill grates. For low and slow barbecue, now that you've got your slow roller or your heat deflectors in place, is lighting your charcoal. You can do this a few different ways. You can use traditional fire starters like this and just dump in, and I like to dump those in a triangle, and then put them and just light one section of the charcoal. And then I also like to use a grill torch, which is what I'm going to do today. And you don't necessarily need these, but if you just have like a little lighter, use your fire starter, place 2 or 3 in there and just get it lit and let your Kamado come up to temperature about 15 minutes or so, or to get lit and turn into that kind of white ashed over charcoal. And you're going to make sure that your dome is nice and warm and that you get that nice heat soak in your Kamado. But today what I'm going to do is use the Grill Blazer grill torch. You can light your charcoal in literally 60 seconds with this. And at this point, you always want to make sure that you've cleared the ash from your ash tray and that you have good airflow. This is key to good barbecue and setting up for low and slow, is that you've got good airflow. And I see multiple rings in my fire charcoal basket, so I know I've got good airflow. We've set up the charcoal properly. We're going to use the Grill Blazer to light this up. And I'm not trying to go a full fire. I just want to know, I want to get it where I see it's ashed over white and it's lit. Then we will set up and let this come up to temperature, and then we'll put the grill grates on. Our next tip for low and slow barbecue is using a drip pan of some sort or foil so that you can capture all the renderings. And what I like to do on the slow roller is, if you don't have a drip pan, is that you can kind of make this the shape of the top of the slow roller, and this helps protect all of your drippings from the protein that you've got, and it helps protect and keep it clean. And then also you can simply lay the foil or the drip pan on top, grill grates on top. And if you're really OCD, sometimes I'm like this, I'll even put the foil inside the drip pan, so it just makes for easier cleanup, and then put my grill grates on after that. Our next tip and step for low and slow barbecue is our vent settings, so that we have good airflow. Now, whenever we started lighting the charcoal and got everything up to temperature, I like to set and close the dome or the top control tower and the bottom vent 25 degrees to 30 degrees before our achieved goal, so which is 250 today. And so I've got right underneath the first notch here and barely a half a finger on the bottom on the big Joe here. Now, when I first fired it up, I have the top vent all the way open, the bottom vent all the way open, to get maximum airflow for more oxygen to heat up and get a good heat soak in the dome. And then once I see that 25 to 30 degrees close to the desired temperature and that the dome is warm, then I dial it in to low and slow. And that's going to be really important because, again, you can do 225, you can do 250, or somewhere in between, whatever is your preference. But what I'm finding here is that first notch to maybe a fingered width, and even a little bit shorter than that, really dials in that 250 to 235 sometimes. So that's kind of what the setting is, and we've literally we are dialed in straight at 250, and that is really good for low and slow barbecue. Well, those were the low and slow basic fundamentals, and I really hope you found those helpful for you as you get on your barbecue journey on a Kamado style grill or a Kamado Joe. Also want to talk about a few extra tips around meat preparation and meat resting. This is a really important part of low and slow barbecue. So when you do your meat selection, make sure you find a meat like a brisket or a protein like pork butt, pork shoulder, things like that, that have great intermuscular fat in it, really fatty. You're gonna really value that as you do your low and slow cook. Also, you wanna do your meat preparation and make sure you have a good plan with what rub you're gonna be using. Understand what binder you might use. You may choose not to use a binder, but the most important one that I have found over time is doing salt brining or dry brining the night before. And what that does is it draws out all the moisture and sucks it back in, and it's just going to only enhance your tender and juicy barbecue whenever you spend hours cooking. Now, the meat resting is another important tip that if you've never heard before, you want to make sure that you rest your meat at the end of the cook, and that as soon as it hits probe tenderness in your internal temperature that you're looking for, that you don't just slice into it too quickly. You want to make sure that you maximize and capture all the flavor and juices of that tender protein. And so what you want to do is you want to rest it, and you can rest it in in a towel and put it in an oven that's not on. You could put it in a container or whatever you want to do, but you want to rest your meat at least 1 hour, if not 2, and some barbecue joints even do it 16 hours. And you just need to experiment to find out what you enjoy, but minimally I would go 1 to 2 hours. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow all that tenderness and juiciness to stay inside the meat. So whenever you slice it, it's going to be nice and tender and juicy whenever you serve it. So that is a few things I want you to keep in mind for low and slow barbecue. Well, hey team, thank you so much for watching. And if you found value in this video, would you do me a favor and subscribe to the channel? Make sure you turn on the notifications so you don't miss anything that's going on this channel. If you want to learn more about Kamado Joe cooking, I've got tons of playlists and fun recipes. I've even got a shorts channel all about fast fire, fun, different recipes you may want to consider. And I'm on all the different social media platforms if you want to connect and have questions on cooking barbecue on a ceramic egg like a Kamado Joe. And again, I so appreciate you watching and supporting the channel, and you're definitely going to want to stay tuned in the future, because once we hit 10,000 subscribers, I'm doing a huge Kamado Joe and a few other things giveaway, so you definitely want to stay tuned on that. So from my backyard to yours, less hate, more love, good barbecue. Till next time.